I'm actually trying to see how I could improve printings on the makeable Replicator, because as you could see last time, I too often encounter some kinds of bugs, especially some kinds of bubbles popping from the extruder printhead, and my goal is to find better parameters for the printer. So I'm actually checking the software solution. It's called MakeAware, and for example, I'm trying to print this hole. This is a little object, and the idea is to try to print things, but with different parameters than the default ones. And if you want to print something here, you get to click on this letter here, and you'll find other parameters. For example, I've chosen medium parameters by default here, and those parameters by default have been a little bit tweaked. I mean that I'm not I've modified the layer height here, and I'm nearly close to 0.1 millimeters of filament large. This is the filament height is normally it is 0.2 and 7, things like that, and I've made it thinner because I wanted to see if it could be better. Same thing for the number of shares here. The problem is that I've observed something. I've observed that when you make this parameter higher here, the number of shares, there is more friction of the printhead, because the printhead is trying to build borders of the objects. For example, here, I mean that each time the printer tries to work on the border of the object, it's since the walls are larger, there is more activity and more friction in the object. So my goal was to reduce this friction phenomenon, and maybe to make the printing more precise, so that it avoids a kind of redundancy in the way the printhead goes on a part of the layer that is already being constructed. I want just the printhead avoid to encounter another portion of the layer that has already been built. So these are some parameters that could help to improve the rendering process, and I'm actually trying those parameters. So I'm printing the hole, and it starts well. I'm going to see what it gives. So as we can see here, indeed the hole is actually being built, and the process is longer because the layer's height is thin, has been divided by 2, and probably that the overall result will be very precise and better. However, I can see here, this is obvious, that the borders of the hole will be extremely fragile. I mean that it will not be resistant to shocks, because for example, the kind of grid is immediately built after the border. So the border is thin, the border of the object is really thin. It's just one filament, and that's all. I don't really know if it will be a solid object, or if it will be something that will have flexible borders. I don't know what will really happen there. I think that the grid is coherent enough. Maybe the object will be more translucent than usual, and for now I do not encounter the famous filament pop bubble popping bug. Maybe it comes from the fact that the filament is not as big as previously. I make several tests and see if these parameters give better results with the translucent natural PLA filament, and give you my final judgment later on. Well, as I'm building the hole, I can notice that the printhead is progressively accumulating a kind of shit around it. It's strange. I'm going to show it here. Here you can see around the printhead there is kind of a thing that tearing shit. This is special. So I need to remove it while I can before it goes on the hole. Oops! And look at that. It's been removed from the printhead. It's tearing from the. It's a kind of a crap that is produced. It's produced by the printhead, but it was around the printhead. It was something that was tearing around the printhead, behind the printhead. It's like it makes me think that the printhead is not, perhaps is not correctly built, because there is some filament that is popping out of the hole where everything should have to go out. There is a problem in this with this printhead, maybe. And maybe should I check it more deeper to see if something is correctly screwed, because it shouldn't do that. Maybe it's because of that I've got those kind of problems during the printing of my objects, because it's too bad. Don't know why it happens. Uh, 15 minutes have passed since I've removed the last crap around the extruder, and I can say that there's something that is once again something new happened around the extruder. I don't know if you can see it, but it is next to the printhead. There's something tearing. I really think that I need to go into a maintenance routine, because I just have to see what's going on inside this extruder. Shit. Because I won't be able to finish anything if I cannot wait. If every 15 minutes there is something buggy with this extruder, it won't be able to build anything big. I would just be able to build small objects, things like that, but never be able to build big objects that user. But anyway, I will show you how to maintain this thing. I've got to unscrew this four things here and to remove the motor. Before I have to do this, I have to wait that the printer is cooler. So I will show you how to do it. While I'm printing the hole, I just want to show you what's happening. In fact, here is the spool holder, and I'm going to stay like that. As you can see, there is a small counterclockwise movement of the spool holder. It means that in fact the motor here inside the extruder is dragging the filament from here, and while it's dragged, the spool holder is slowly turning counterclockwise, you see. And by the way, the problem is that 16 or 70% of my objects were failed because of printhead problems. So this printer looks user friendly, it looks plug and play, but there are lots of principles that you have to be aware of before starting to build objects, things like that. Because finally, you can see that the filament is used, and the bigger the objects are, the longer the printing takes, and the more you take risk to get some mistakes. For example, this one, it just happened, as you can see. Okay, let's hear it. You can hear it scratches. Well, look at that crack. So I really need to see what happened. It's a bubble. I don't know what it is. Look at it. It just happened. The printhead just started to release the shit like that. And we are lucky that this shit was only extruded outside the last layer, because if it stayed on the middle of the layer, in the middle of the head of the all the printer would scratch each time it passes on this bug, and it would probably be a fatal failure, a fatal error. I will probably be able to remove this error later on, but it could have been a fatal error. Too bad, because you can see the hole is even more precise, good looking. It's a good looking object. It could be totally botched and fucked up because of this printhead problem. So let's take a look at this object now it's built. This is the hole, as you can see. I've chosen to take a more precise layering definition. For example, 0.15 as a layer height, and we can see that if indeed it's more precise, because here, for example, the angle is you can see that the angle is really well done. It's solid, and it's really precise here. You can see, check the borders of the object. It's really well done, and you have to look closer to see that it's based on layers on the top of other layers. So it's precise. You have less the feeling that it is based on filaments, and this printer is surprisingly precise. However, if you remember, we encountered several accidents and bugs. The first one happened there. I had to stop the printer and to remove a lot of shit that was tearing around the nozzle. And the second one happened there, and we are lucky because the shit was just rejected out of the main layer. Apparently, the printer encountered difficulties here because there are lots of friction, and the printer was just bothered by lots of movement here, and the print head was just doing too many works on the top of the hole, and the fact that the printer had to move faster and faster on the last layers just made that the print head that was very hot just burnt the PLA filament here and here, and was a bit scratching here. So it explains why it's burnt here. It's because of the fact that the print head was doing too many work on the top of the hole. But globally, the angles are smooth and linear, and so good quality looking object. However, the number of mistakes, and let me say that I have to truly I have to maintain the print head, because there is something that is happening inside, and I don't like it. Well, it's not difficult to remove the filament. You've got to go into utilities and change filament, and once you remove the air filament, you've got to cool the extruder. So it's the same as the preheat menu, but you've got a cool command, so you click on cool and it starts cooling the extruder. Then you use the jog mode to move the print head in the center of the printer. So that they will be able to maintain it better. Then you turn the printer off. Then you use this to unscrew the fan. Now the fan is unscrewed, remove this. Well, I'm going to see if there is a problem, but now I've removed it. I just check it here, and there's nothing here, no garbage, no stock PLA filament here, no nothing. So my problem don't come from this this extrusion, this part of the extruder. The problems come from somewhere else. When I'm checking here, I can't see any problem. So this is clean. This is well done. Nothing. And I think I get it. This is burnt, man. This is burnt. It looks that the surrounding rears of the nozzle are burned or strange. There are some parts of the nozzle that have a PLA filament that are stuck. This is strange, as if it had some problems. You see, there's something here around the nozzle. Trying to observe the problem, but the real thing is that this part, orange part, looks totally burnt, and maybe it's the sign that I'm heating too much the extruder. Maybe should I try another temperature and see if it produces the same shit. I'm going to check it. I think that there is a way to modify the temperature,
directly inside the MakerWare software. So let's try with another temperature.
Hey guys, I need some help. I got a filament load problem. I tried to load. I tried to print something and nothing worked. Nothing went out of the printer. So I decided to realize a maintenance. So I've watched the video. So I've removed the fan. I've removed this module. It's clean. It doesn't need to be cleansed with a brush. So I've checked here. And I realized that this this part is filled with filament, and whatever I do, I cannot remove what's inside this part, and I don't know what to do. It seems to be totally stuck here, and it explains why nothing goes out under the extruder, and it explains why I can't print anything anymore. So I'd like to get some help if possible, because I don't know what to do. Well, in the end it starts again. I had a little problem. Some PLA filament was stuck in somewhere in the path, and I had to use a nifty method to work it out. In fact, I used this this tool because the PLA filament was stuck under the extruder motor. So when I maintained it, I had to use something to burn this tool, and I used this simple tool. So I burned this, and I went under the extruder motor, and I removed while it was hot the PLA filament, so that I've been able to remove what was stuck, and what was making that the PLA filament wasn't correctly dragged by the extruder on the nozzle. By the way, when you maintain the extruder head, just be aware of the fact that the fan has a way to be built, because if you build it on the opposite side, it doesn't cool anything, and it's possible that I've made a mistake while maintaining the extruder head, because I didn't know if I remounted the fan this way or in the opposite way. For now, if you want to really be sure that the fan is correctly built, you shouldn't experience any wind going from the inside and outside. You should experience the opposite thing. I mean, the fan is attracting air and spreading air here inside the print head. So it's possible that it's me. I'm responsible of the difficulties I recently had with my printer, because when I maintained it, I just put the fan on the opposite side, and of course it didn't work, and I really had a hard time to cleanse it in the end. And I've made a lot of tests with the PLA filament and temperature. I've tried to build things with lower temperatures than 230 degrees, and clearly it doesn't work at all. If I choose temperature lower than 230 degrees, I even experience a lot of troubles with it. I mean, for example, the PLA filament
isn't glued on the plate and doesn't stay on the plate. It's not hot enough to be glued, so the basic layers are fucked up quickly. So the rest of the thing, the rest of the object cannot be built on a wrong basis. So I've tried several temperatures, and finally I had to recognize that 230 degrees are the right one. I also tried superior temperatures, but while I was doing it, I probably fucked up the test because the fan was badly remounted. So, well, I don't know. But I realized that 230 degrees is quite good temperature, and it's totally useless to define a superior temperature, because when we looked for the printhead, we realized that it was burnt around it, so it's high enough. I wouldn't take the risk to burn it even more. I think that it's good enough. So I'm actually building another test object. It's the famous Batman statue, and it starts well as usual. And I'm used to check regularly if there are not any kind of troubles or bubbles or mistakes or burnt parts that are hopping out of the nozzle. I found a method that works pretty well. If I see something bad, I make a pause during the process, and I'm quickly trying to capture, to remove the bubbles. So when I want to make a pause, I choose this menu and I click quickly on pause, and I'm trying to click on pause and to choose pause when the print head is outside of the object, so that I can quickly remove things when they are hot. I don't want to wait too much time when I had to do it. This is not really what I expected first when I bought this product. I thought that it was more user-friendly, and finally I realized that I have to observe and be careful and ready to stop everything when something goes wrong and go back to the printer. And this is shitty because the problem is that the printing process is truly long, and you can build an object in 1 or 2 hours, and it's boring to check this printer 1 or 2 hours, especially when nothing happens. So I will make other tests, but with another kind of PLA filament. Maybe all those problems comes from the quality of this filament pack, and I've read in some forums on internet that natural PLA filament just sucks. It is junk. It sucks. Creates bubbles, creates gas, things like that, and just fucking up the print head more or less. And maybe I guess that it was my mistakes or my parameter. It's possible that it is just this kind of filament that is just sucking by default. And I've shipped in some other kinds of filament, for example blank one, or gray one, or gold one. And I've also found some wood-based filament, and maybe I'll have to make some tests to see if it works better with some other kinds of material. And by the way, when I really check the objects made with this, it's true that even with little and thin layers, you can still see that it is based on layers. While when you use something else, that translucent and natural filament, you clearly have more difficulties to realize that this is a layer-based building process.